Hey warrior, there's a moment coming in your life, maybe today, maybe this week, when everyone around you is going to lose their composure at the exact same time. Someone will panic. Someone will explode. Someone will fall apart in front of you expecting you to fall apart with them. And in that exact moment, you are going to have a choice that most people never even realize they're making. You can join the chaos or you can become the one steady thing in the room. Most people join the chaos. Not because they want to, but because nobody ever taught them how to stand still when everything around them is shaking. You've felt this before. A group chat spirals into panic over something that hasn't even happened yet. A family argument pulls everyone into raised voices within minutes. A workplace crisis turns an entire office into a hive of anxious whispering. And somehow, without even trying, you get pulled in too. Your heart races because everyone else's heart is racing. Your thoughts spiral because everyone else's thoughts are spiraling. This is called emotional contagion, and it's real, it's measurable, and it is exactly what the Stoics spent their entire philosophy trying to protect people from, 2,000 years before anyone had a name for it. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself in the middle of a plague that was killing thousands across his empire. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He wasn't writing that as a comforting slogan for a quiet afternoon. He was writing it while commanding armies, burying people he loved, and governing a crumbling empire that was falling apart around him in real time. If he could stay standing while Rome itself trembled, you can learn to stay standing the next time your group chat panics over nothing. Before we go further, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I am the calm that does not need permission from the chaos around me. Like this video if it already speaks to you, and subscribe to Daily Stoic Wisdom if you're ready to become the person other people quietly rely on when everything falls apart. Here are 8 Stoic habits that will make you emotionally unbreakable, even when nobody around you is. Number 1. Refuse to catch what isn't yours. Picture a hospital ward where one patient's fever doesn't automatically spread to the person in the next bed just because they're close by. Emotions work differently than viruses, but people treat them exactly the same way, as though standing near someone's panic means you're required to catch it. Someone around you starts spiraling about a deadline, a breakup, a diagnosis, a rumor, and within minutes you feel your own chest tightening even though nothing has actually happened to you. Seneca warned his students about exactly this, writing that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and that includes imagination borrowed secondhand from someone else's fear standing right next to you. The habit here is simple to describe and hard to practice. Before absorbing someone else's emotional state as your own, pause and ask yourself, is this actually my emergency? Or am I just standing too close to someone else's fire? You can still care. You can still help. But caring does not require catching. A doctor who caught every patient's fever would be useless to every patient who needed her steady hands. Your calm is not indifference. It is the thing that makes you useful when everyone else has lost their footing. Number 2, treat your first reaction as a rough draft, not a final answer. The moment something goes wrong, your body produces a reaction before your mind has even finished processing what happened. Your jaw tightens. Your voice sharpens. Your thumbs move toward a message you'll regret sending in 4 minutes. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Make it your habit to consider that men do wrong involuntarily." Meaning most people who hurt you aren't plotting against you, they're simply reacting from their own untrained impulses exactly the way you're about to react from yours if you don't slow down. The Stoic habit is to treat your first response the way a writer treats a rough draft, something to look at, maybe even laugh at, but never something to publish immediately. Give yourself the smallest possible delay, 10 seconds, 1 breath, 1 lap around the room, before you speak, type, or decide anything when your body is still flooded with the first wave of a feeling. That delay is not weakness. It is the entire difference between a life run by your nervous system and a life run by your judgment. The people who seem unshakable in a crisis are rarely people who feel less. They are people who built the habit of waiting 1 extra breath before their mouth catches up with their alarm. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My first reaction does not get to run my life. Number 3, Stop needing the room to understand you before you can feel okay. When chaos hits a group of people, someone always needs to be understood immediately, needs their side heard, needs the record corrected before they can breathe. And when that need doesn't get met fast enough, they escalate, they repeat themselves louder, they recruit allies, they turn a disagreement into a battle for validation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." He didn't spend his nights convincing critics of his character. He spent his nights simply being the man his journal describes, regardless of whether Rome understood him or not. This is one of the hardest habits to build because being misunderstood feels almost unbearable in the moment, like an itch you cannot reach. But the moment you release the requirement that everyone in the room understands your intentions before you can feel settled, you take back an enormous amount of power that you were previously handing to strangers, coworkers, and even people who love you but simply see things differently. You are allowed to be at peace with confusion in someone else's head. Their confusion is not your emergency to fix on their timeline. Number 4, become the person who asks the boring question everyone else forgot to ask. In every crisis, in every group panic, there is always one boring, obvious question nobody is asking because everyone is too busy feeling the fear instead of examining it. What actually happened, separate from what we're afraid might happen next? What do we actually know for certain right now? What is the very next single step, not the whole solution, just the next step? Epictetus built his entire teaching method around training students to separate what is within their control from what is not, because he understood that fear grows enormous in vague, unexamined spaces and shrinks the moment you force it into specific, answerable questions. The person in the room who calmly asks, "Okay, but what do we actually know right now?" is rarely the loudest person, and is almost always the one everyone quietly starts looking toward once the initial wave of panic passes. You don't need to have all the answers to become that person. You only need to be willing to ask the boring question while everyone else is busy performing the size of their fear. Number 5, let people be upset without needing to fix their feeling immediately. This one is counterintuitive because it feels like the caring thing to do is rush in and make someone's bad feeling go away as fast as possible. But rushing to fix someone's emotion often communicates, without meaning to, that their feeling is a problem that needs to be eliminated rather than a signal that deserves a moment of space. Seneca, who buried more loss in his life than most people could survive without breaking, understood that grief and anger and fear all have their own natural arc, and interrupting that arc with premature comfort often does more harm than simply sitting steady beside someone while they move through it. The Stoic habit is to offer your calm presence without demanding that the other person storm in on your schedule. You can say, "I'm here, take your time," and mean it, without needing their tears to stop in the next 60 seconds so you can feel comfortable again. This single shift, letting people feel what they feel without racing to shut it down, is one of the quietest but most powerful ways to become the person others trust with their hardest moments. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I can hold space for other people's storms without losing my own ground. Number 6, remember that your calm is not a performance, it's a discipline nobody sees you practicing. There will be moments where staying steady feels almost dishonest, like you're pretending everything is fine when it isn't. But Stoic calm was never about pretending nothing hurts. Marcus Aurelius openly wrote about grief, exhaustion, and the temptation to give up, in a private journal never meant for an audience. His calm in public was not a performance covering an empty interior. It was the visible result of private discipline nobody else ever witnessed, the quiet hours he spent training his own judgment long before the crisis that tested it ever arrived. The steadiness you show in a hard moment is not built in that moment. It is built in all the ordinary, unremarkable moments beforehand when you practiced pausing instead of snapping, practiced asking instead of assuming, practiced sitting with discomfort instead of immediately escaping it. Nobody claps for that invisible training. But it is exactly what shows up the day everything falls apart, and somehow, without knowing why, you're the only one still standing upright. Number 7. Stop treating other people's chaos as evidence about your own life. When someone around you spirals, it is remarkably easy to absorb their panic as though it says something true about your own circumstances too. Your friend's financial fear becomes your fear about money. Your coworker's certainty that the company is collapsing becomes your certainty too, even though you have no more information than they do. Epictetus taught that events themselves are neutral, and what disturbs us is almost always the judgment we layer on top of them, judgments that are frequently borrowed wholesale from whoever is standing closest to us and panicking the loudest. The habit here is to notice when a feeling entering your chest actually originated in your own direct experience, versus when it walked in secondhand from someone else's spiraling narrative. Ask yourself plainly, is this my fear based on my own facts, or is this a fear I picked up simply by standing in the blast radius of someone else's? You are allowed to care about people without inheriting every conclusion their panic has already jumped to. Number 8. Decide in advance who you want to be on the hardest day before the hardest day arrives. Soldiers do not decide how to behave under fire in the middle of the battle. They train for it beforehand, so that when the moment actually comes, their trained response simply activates without requiring a fresh decision made under pressure. Marcus Aurelius wrote each morning about the kind of man he intended to be that day, specifically because he knew that deciding your character in the calm of the morning is infinitely easier than trying to invent it in the middle of a crisis that afternoon. The Stoic habit is to sit, occasionally, in a quiet moment, and simply ask yourself, when the next hard day comes, and it will come, who do I want to have been in that room? Not what do I want to have said in the argument, not how do I want to have won, but who do I want to have been? Decide that answer now, while you're calm enough to actually mean it, so that when the moment arrives, you're not inventing your character from nothing under pressure, you're simply living out a decision you already made. You've now learned 8 Stoic habits that will make you the steady center in rooms that are falling apart around you. Not because you feel less than everyone else, but because you've trained yourself not to hand your nervous system over to whoever happens to be panicking the loudest that day. You'll start to notice something quietly shift in your life. Conversations that used to spiral will start to settle faster simply because you're in them. People will start coming to you first, not because you have all the answers, but because you don't add fuel to a fire that's already burning too hot. You'll walk through disagreements, emergencies, and hard conversations with a kind of dry-footed steadiness that used to belong only to the people you admired from a distance, and now it belongs to you. This isn't about becoming cold or distant from the people around you. It's about becoming the version of yourself that can actually be present for them, instead of drowning alongside them. A lighthouse doesn't stop the storm. It simply keeps its light burning steady so that everyone caught in the dark water has something fixed to steer toward. That's what you're building here, one habit at a time, one paused breath at a time, one boring clarifying question at a time. The world is not going to stop testing you. But you are no longer required to fall apart just because it's testing everyone else in the room too. Like, comment, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe to Daily Stoic Wisdom so the next lesson finds you before life forces you to learn it the hard way instead. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I am the calm the room needed, and I built it on purpose.